Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar about JotForm Enterprise. Our webinar is called How JotForm Enterprise Solves Your Business's Data Collection Needs. We're super excited to be here today because our enterprise plans are taking off and a ton of businesses are taking advantage of them. So today's presenters are going to be myself, Annabelle from the marketing team, and we also have a special co-host named Steve from our sales team, and he's our Chief Revenue Officer. Steve, would you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Annabelle. I'm Steve Hardert. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here with JotForm.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. So I'm going to start off by doing a quick overview of Enterprise, discussing some of its features, how it's different from other JotForm plans, and then continue on to a demo and Q&A. So Steve's going to kick it off right now.
Sure. Let me take a couple of minutes here and just kind of talk about what separates JotForm Enterprise from our standard JotForm plan. They're very much the basic product that we have, very much the same, but there's a few different things that Enterprise offers. One, it integrates, as with our standard plan, it integrates with your workflow. But from an enterprise level, it eliminates that mishmash of form building that some companies have, where they don't have multiple people on multiple platforms working separately. JotForm Enterprise allows that company to have all of their forms and all their form builders and all their form submissions under one umbrella. So it really kind of simplifies and centralizes data collection on a much larger scale. And traditionally, as our traditional product goes, it's a SaaS solution. So it's available on the web. All you need is a browser. One of the main issues that really kind of separates JotForm Enterprise is that we offer multiple user levels. And by that, we mean we have admins and we have users. And users, we say with an uppercase U. What this means is you can have someone in your finance department creating forms, someone in your operations department creating forms, and someone over in marketing creating forms. And those forms cannot be seen by each separate department. They can only be seen by the admin who oversees everything, but operations only sees operation forms, marketing sees marketing forms, etc. So it gives you a sense of privacy. It gives you a sense of security. And it makes it very nice and easy to keep track of who's creating forms and where the submissions are going into. And again, on the admin level, and we'll get into this in a bit, but an admin can actually see all the forms and they can control who has access to those forms. So they may have someone in operations and then they want to create a brand new user that's in sales, or maybe they've got somebody in maintenance. And so they can actually create new user categories and let that person go in there and build their forms. We also have something that we call single sign-on, and single sign-on is a very, very important feature for our enterprise users in that it integrates with products such as Active Directory, where companies maintain their own database of users and passwords, and it allows them to keep those same users and passwords inside of JotForm Enterprise without having to go and create brand new usernames and brand new passwords inside of Enterprise. By doing this, what it means is you can have one centralized location for all of your users, and then you as the administrator of this allows you to control who and who does not have access to our enterprise features. Another real popular one that we have is what we're calling single sign-on for forms. And this is something very important from a user perspective, or I should say from a customer perspective, in that you can have someone come to your website and complete a form. And maybe they complete it halfway and they have to come back at some point down the road. Well, if they have, say, a username or a user code number or something like that, they can come back and they can pick up where they left off and complete that form. Likewise, they can also come back and edit that data on that form if they need to. So, for example, let's say you're working in a hospital and you have patients coming in and they need to update their insurance information. John Smith 123 can go in there and access this form, and he could be asked, is your insurance information up to date? He could say no and then update it and resubmit the form, and now you at your facility have up-to-date information. But again, John Smith is the one that actually can control that data input, and he can make sure that his data is up to date so you don't have to worry about it. We also offer live customer support. You get 24/7 phone support on our enterprise products. On our standard product lines, you have online support, but with enterprise, you can pick up a phone or you can email a dedicated support person right there. That way you get a faster turnaround and you can get any concerns or issues that you may have, get them solved much, much faster. We also offer branded domains, so you can have something like forms at or forms.yourcompany.com. This means you can have almost a white label type of an environment for your forms, and it also adds an element of security for your users. That way, they don't think they're putting in maybe very sensitive financial or healthcare information, and that information could be maybe they don't know who JotForm is, and maybe they're a little bit hesitant about putting that information online. This way, it looks like the forms are coming from your location, out of your website, and it gives them a greater deal of comfort when they need to do that. One of the best things about Enterprise is there are no limits on the number of forms you can have, no limits on the number of submissions you can have. So as we like to say, no limits, no worries. You don't have to worry about running out of space or running out of capacity or form allocations or anything like that. We also allow access to our API. And by that means, if you have a specific integration that you have on your website in your company that you use for your workflow, this is very important because now you can actually customize the data input from your JotForm enterprise forms right into your corporate system. So if you have maybe a specific type of a database that you work with, this allows you to go right into that database with that data and keep it moving. Likewise, we also have our APIs work with companies such as Salesforce, HubSpot, MailChimp, etc. But a two-way API makes it very easy for you to customize that form experience and put that data right where it needs to be. But let's talk for a little bit here about, where some of the different features that we do really have on the enterprise, right? And this is what really kind of separates enterprise from JotForm standard plans. And again, I talked about single sign-on, and this is very, 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 very important from an enterprise world because they might have hundreds of, if not thousands of users accessing their systems on a day-to-day basis, and they need some way to control that. And by allowing the single sign-on and providing it to our enterprise users, it makes it very easy for JotForm to integrate into that corporate workflow environment. Same thing as single sign-on for forms. You can use this as an internal system, or you can use it externally. So you might have your employees updating, say, just their HR information, their home address, maybe their phone number, marital status, things like that. But also from an external point of view, you can have your customers filing their information online, and you can make sure that that data is also up to date. So it makes it very, very simple for a company to make sure that their data collection remains accurate and remains timely. We also work on keeping your data secure, and we take security very, very important here at JotForm. One of the big things that we like to offer our users is really that peace of mind. And part of it is our security includes 256-bit SSL. We also offer encryption point-to-point. We have PCI compliance level 1, which is what banks use for credit cards and things like that. We also have GDPR compliance. We have HIPAA compliance. So no matter what your needs are, you can always be assured that your forms and your form submission data is going to be secure and bolted down. Keep the bad guys away. We also provide custom agreements. And by this, we mean the agreements when you sign up for JotForm Enterprise, everyone has to sign an agreement when they sign up for the product, and you can customize that to fit your needs, whether it becomes down to number of users that you need, or maybe there's something in there you want to have about our service level agreements, or perhaps maybe you're on a HIPAA plan and you want to have a BAA agreement signed up. So we offer this option to our enterprise users where you can have it customized to fit specifically what your needs are for your organization. One of the most exciting parts of JotForm Enterprise is that you have your own dedicated server. On our standard plans, you share a server with other users, but on Enterprise, you are the only person that's going to be using your server. And this works out for multiple different advantages. One, even during your most busiest periods, you're not dependent on somebody else's busy period. So your system can stay up and running, and you don't have to worry about anybody else kind of barging in, so to speak, on your server time. It's yours and yours only. It's also, if you need, because maybe say internationally, maybe you're based in Australia or Canada, for example, and your country's privacy laws require that you store that data on Australian citizens, or because you're an Australian company, it has to be stored within Canadian borders. We can accommodate that. We work with companies such as AWS and Google Cloud and Azure. So we have server locations all over the world, and I'm sure we've got one that'll work for you if that's necessary. And as traditional with our traditional plan, we also have more than 400 integrations and apps that you can work with on JotForm Enterprise. So if you want to create a specific kind of experience, whether it be a payment or something like DocuSign for digital signatures, you can do the same thing. There's really no separation on that point between JotForm Standard and JotForm Enterprise. And just to give you kind of an example of what some of those integrations look like, so we have a series of CRM integrations, which include Salesforce, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, cloud storage through Box, Google Drive, Ignite, email through MailChimp, Constant Contact, and collaboration programs such as Asana and Slack. These are very much standard enterprise types of products, and JotForm Enterprise works quite well with these on that enterprise level. Let's talk a little bit about what types of customers are actually using JotForm Enterprise and how they're using it. This here gives you just a little bit of an example of what types of companies currently are using JotForm Enterprise. And you can see it's a wide range between software to consumer products to entertainment to automotive industry. And they use it for all sorts of different types of environments. Some use it for contest entries. Right, so they might have international contests running. They need to collect contest entries, or they're using it internally for an invoice approval system. Right, if person A signs off on it, then person B receives the invoice, and if person B signs off on it, then it goes to C for final approval. This gives you that ability to have all of these things internally, and you can totally customize it. And we're always amazed when we start talking to our customers to find out how they're using JotForm Enterprise. It's quite mind-blowing and very exciting at the same time. And I also want to take just a quick mention here about JotForm Mobile. We introduced this product in June of 2019, and from an enterprise perspective, it's become a very important part. We have some customers that have field workers, and they could be maintenance workers or insurance adjusters or anybody that's out in the field and they're collecting data, whether it's an accident incident or they're doing surveys or just general maintenance on something. They need to complete a form. By using JotForm Mobile, in addition to JotForm Enterprise, they can have field workers out collecting information on forms, completing those forms, and then when they get back to the office or they get back to where there's an internet connection, they can upload that information right into the system, and it's all up to date. So it makes a complete system that works from A to Z for everyone. Why don't we take a couple of seconds here, and I'll walk everyone through just a quick demo of what JotForm Enterprise looks like, how you create a form, and how the administrative controls function. So if you're familiar with JotForm, this is going to look, you're familiar with this process. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new form here. And I think one of the benefits is JotForm Enterprise works very much the same as the standard JotForm. So if you're familiar with how to build a form, you'll see no difference in here. So just for the sake of example, if you're not familiar with it, let me just show you very quickly how we're going to build a very simple contact form. So we're going to go ahead and create a blank form, and I'm just going to call this my great contact form. And now we're inside of our form builder, and we can just drag and drop the field. So just for this form, I'm just going to want to get your name and your email address. That's all I want. And that's it. We have a form built. And if we want to go ahead and see how this form actually looks online, we can go ahead and publish this form, and we'll show you that in a second. But I also want to show if we wanted to add in things such as an integration with, say, Salesforce, because you want this information to go right into Salesforce. So let's go ahead and just select our CRM. We would select Salesforce. And here we would put in our information. You can see there's our username, our password. Salesforce provides you with a security token. And once you authenticate this, now there's an integration between Salesforce and this form. So as soon as that form is completed, that information is ported straight over into your Salesforce account. And if you were to use something else, such as, let's just look at MailChimp for a second. Again, you just authenticate it. So you put in your login credentials, and that's all you would need to do. And now you've got a whole system set up. So when your data comes in from JotForm Enterprise, it's going to go straight into your MailChimp account. And just to give you a quick look, you can see all the different types of integrations that we have here. We have Monday.com, we have Slack, Google Sheets, Google Drive, Twilio. So they're all here, very much so. Again, if you're familiar with JotForm, our standard plans, you'll see a lot of these same features that are here available on JotForm Enterprise. The final step here is if we wanted to go ahead and now just publish the form, and this again is how simple it is. We go ahead and say publish it, and you're going to get a simple link here that you can actually go ahead and open this up. But I want to show a few other options that are popular amongst enterprise. They may actually want to put it inside of an iframe. They may want to have a pop-up option. These are things, again, that our enterprise users find this to be a very, very convenient and popular option. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to go ahead and open this up in a new tab. And let me just go ahead and click on this, and you can see what this looks like. So here's the form we just finished building, right? So again, we're just going to collect the first name, last name, and then we're going to get an email. And for sake of expediency here, I created a similar form earlier just so you can see how the data would come in and what it would look like. So if I wanted to come in here and just say I'm John Doe, and we're just going to say John Doe, and we'll just say at jotform.com, I would go ahead and submit that information, and there we go. But let me show you for a second. I want to show you what the data looks like on the back end system so you can see how you can analyze it. So you can see now the data comes in from your form, and this is what that data looks like after it's been input. So we've got a day stamp on here. We've got the names of the people that plugged all their information in, and now we have their emails. And this is how you can build a very simple contact form, and you can go ahead and you can just grab that information fast. And then if you want to, you can download this, right? So you can download it as a CSV file, an Excel file, or maybe you just want to pull it out as a PDF. But once you have it into these other formats, you can throw it into a spreadsheet, and you can analyze that data a bunch of different ways. Or you can go ahead and you can import it into something else that you want to import it to. Again, if you don't have a MailChimp integration, maybe you just want to import it into something else, or you've got your own proprietary email system that would allow you then again to take that same data and put it into those systems. But for a second here, now I also want to go back and I want to show what separates JotForm Enterprise from our JotForm Standard. I want to show you these administrative controls. So I'm back here inside of my form builder, but I'm going to go to the admin panel now. So I'm just going to go here and select admin. And you can see we've got this whole section here now that you don't see under standard JotForm, where you can actually add users, or you can add admin users, or admins. And what we mean by this now is that the user can create forms and they can see their submissions from those forms, and that's all they can see, whereas an admin can oversee everybody. So let's go ahead and we're going to add John Doe. And let's give his username will be John D. And John Doe, he works here at JotForm, we'll say. We'll make him a user, but here we can also make him an admin if we want to. And his name will just be Marketing Manager. That's his title. And that's it. Now we have John Doe as a user. You can actually start creating forms. You can start looking at submissions, because now this person actually has access to the system and they're off and running. So they can use the form builder, but again, they can only see the submissions that are coming in from their particular forms. But myself as an administrator, maybe down the road, I want to make John an admin. Well, this is all I have to do. This is go to that drop-down menu and select the admin option. And now John has admin privileges instead of just being a user. And maybe some point down the road, John decides he moves to another company. Well, we can either edit this user and maybe give this these forms to a new person. So maybe it's going to be Jane Doe. And so we can go ahead and have all that information put in there. And now we've got a new person. See, the name was updated on that side. Or we can just go ahead and delete this user at some time down the road. If we decide that Jane, we don't need this account anymore, we can just go ahead and delete that. We can say we can delete that user. But again, the caution is you might lose all the forms and the submission data. So we do caution you about just flat out deleting those kinds of users. You can also you can customize your form experience. This is where you can upload your company logo. You can give the name of your server. Here we just call it Enterprise Demo, but you can customize these to whatever you want it to be. So we have these options that are also available.
Great. Thank you, Steve, for showing us that demo. Now we're going to jump into the Q&A section. I have another one here from Sarah, who's asking, what is the difference between an admin and a user?
Sure. I think sometimes this gets a bit complicated, and it's probably a good time to give a little bit more explanation on that. Whereas a user can create forms and look at submissions, they can only look at their own. So you might have a user in operations, you might have a user in marketing, you might have a user in human resources, and you might have a user in maintenance. And there's 4 users right there. Maintenance cannot see marketing, marketing cannot see operations, and no one can see anybody else's. On top of all that would be the admin. Now, the admin can see all of those forms and see all of that submission data and can add new users if they want to. So that admin gives a greater level of control on a granular level of who has access to what, and those users can go ahead and just create their forms and look at their submission data as necessary without any worry about data being exposed to another department, because say HR might get some very sensitive personnel information and that can't be shared with somebody else.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. We have a question here from John, who's asking about this server situation. So it looks like he's based in Australia and is wondering if he can have a server there. Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. We have many customers that are down in Australia, and we do have several server options down there. We work with, for example, AWS or Google Cloud. They provide. We do have servers down there currently, and we just can go ahead and we can add your server down there. It's not a problem.
Perfect. It looks like we have one question left from Adam, who's asking, is customer support available, and what's the difference between regular JotForm customer support and JotForm Enterprise customer support?
Sure. This is a great question. JotForm Enterprise offers 24/7 phone support as well as email support. So if you have a question, you have a dedicated support person that you can contact, whether it be through phone or through email. And they can get back to you generally within a couple of minutes, if not right there on the spot when you make a phone call. If you're using our standard JotForm product, that's limited to online support. But again, the big difference between the two of them is standard is online support. Enterprise allows you to have actually a dedicated support person who is available via phone and direct email.
Perfect. All right, well, that wraps up our questions and answers section. We'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out and watching the webinar today. If you'd like to get more information, please visit jotform.com/enterprise, and you'll be able to see all the features and get some more information on the product. And Steve, thank you so much again for joining us today. Super helpful to get a better overview of JotForm Enterprise.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.